The pair descended upon the lake's surface beside the crystal coffin, faint ripples spreading beneath their feet. Shashin's gaze lingered on the remains within, emotion flickering through her eyes. Drawing a steady breath, she said softly, "Fellow Taoist Xi, lend me your blood essence. I will honor my promise." Xi Janfang inclined his head, then drew his sword across his palm. Blood tinged with faint golden light flowed forth. Shashin produced a star-wave pen from her sleeve, dipped it into the blood, and traced swift inscriptions across the coffin. The bloodlines wove together, forming a crimson array that fused with the ancient pentagram upon the coffin. Red radiance surged as the coffin shuddered, the lake churning wildly. Blood rose like a living tide, wrapping the coffin into a vast crimson cocoon. A thunderous boom echoed as Ikwai hurled another mighty strike at his restraints. The array held, yet fresh cracks spread across the armoured puppets. A sharp crack rang from the 12 stones before Xiaozi. Her body trembled, her face paling beneath the bamboo hat. Hanli watched with concern, torn by hesitation. To intervene risked drawing the fury of both Ikwai and Shashin, and rash action might only burden Xiaozi. He was nearly certain Xiaozi was Violet Spirit. Yet reunion must wait. At that moment, a dull thump sounded from the cocoon. The blood receded into the lake, revealing the holy remains. The crystal coffin vanished, leaving a crimson crystalline slab afloat, the remains resting upon it. No awe-inspiring aura emerged. The body seemed ordinary. Yet Hanli discerned profound runes etched into the slab, most unknown, though the few he recognized revealed their purpose: to suppress the bloodline's power. Urgency flashed in Ikwai's eyes as he renewed his assault. Shashin formed a seal and placed a hand upon her lower abdomen. White light flared, mechanical clicks followed as her flesh unfolded like a lotus. She had turned herself into a puppet. Crimson brilliance burst forth, unveiling a crystal sphere containing a living, beating heart. Its thunderous rhythm echoed across the lake, life energy surging. When the opening closed, Shashin's aura waned, her face drained of colour. "So you hid the heart within yourself all these years," Ikwai laughed, "and dared not take from it. No wonder your cultivation declined. What folly!" Shashin ignored him, swallowed a beast core, and cradled the sphere, white light blooming from her palms as she began to unseal it. A muffled groan escaped her lips. A sword tip pierced from her chest. Xi Janfang's blade had struck true. Blood drenched her robes as he twisted the hilt. She spat blood and struck back, but he had already released the bone sword. Profound acupoints blazed across his body as he slipped past her, driving a bone dagger into her abdomen. In a blink, he seized the crystal sphere and retreated across the lake. A deafening boom followed. Silver lightning exploded outward, bone fragments shredding rock and ceiling alike. Hanli ducked, just as a shard sheared the stone above him. Ikwai shattered the bone chain array. The 12 armoured puppets detonated in white light. The stones and array plate burst apart, and Xiaozi was flung back, blood spilling from her lips. Freed, Ikwai glanced at Shashin, then smiled at Xi Janfang. "Congratulations, Your Highness." "My thanks, City Lord Yi," she replied. Shashin snarled, realizing their long deception. She drew out the sword from her chest, produced a small black vial, and poured golden sand onto her palm. The grains crawled into her wound, mending flesh. "Without the heart, resurrection is impossible," Ikwai said coolly. "Share the holy remains with me, and I'll spare you." Shashin answered by producing a metal ball. "Xiaozi, retrieve the heart at any cost." Ikwai snorted and leapt toward the remains. The metal ball transformed mid-air into a colossal Arhat puppet clad in metal kasaya, 8 mighty arms surging forward in unison. Ikwai met it with a single punch, countless acupoints flaring as fist projections crashed against iron limbs. Clangs rang out, shockwaves tearing through the cavern. Elsewhere, Xiaozi sat cross-legged once more. 2 strange puppets appeared, a winged humanoid and a feline-bodied figure with a young woman's head. At her command, they lunged toward Xi Janfang from opposite sides. Xi Janfang had clearly foreseen this moment. He stood unmoving as he flipped a hand, producing a golden sphere that he tossed skyward. Mechanical clicks rang sharply as radiant golden light burst forth, then vanished in a flash. In its place stood a golden cage several dozen feet wide, sealing Xi Janfang within. The winged puppet dove from above, its four wings beating furiously as countless, feather-like blades of white radiance rained down, tearing faint rifts through space itself. From the opposite side, the feline puppet charged in, its womanly visage opening to spit forth a bolt of silver lightning. Blades and lightning battered the cage without pause, yet when the dust settled, the golden barrier remained unbroken. Inside, Xi Janfang stood unharmed. He clutched the crystal ball in one hand, while blood dripped steadily from a wound in his palm onto its surface, undoing the seal little by little. Han Li frowned as he watched, debating whether to seize the crystal ball. The aura sealed within was terrifyingly profound, a treasure on par with the weeping blood array, and clearly tied to the Devilish Lord's remains. Han Li cared little whether Xi revived the Devilish Lord, yet he sensed this heart might be linked to Taoist Xi. Allowing Xi Janfang to claim such a treasure would be a bitter loss. Still, intervening now would brand him an opportunist and likely draw the combined fury of Yi Kuai and Xi, a danger he could not ignore. At that moment, Xi Chuankong's shoulder twitched, so subtly it was almost invisible. Han Li raised a brow and transmitted, "Are you all right, brother Xi?" The shoulder jerked again, more clearly this time, drawing even Mistress Lu Hua's gaze, yet Xi Chuankong said nothing and looked away. After a brief pause, his voice echoed in Han Li's mind. "I'm fine. Brother Xi, could you do me a favor?" Han Li replied calmly, "Hold on a little longer. I'll wait until the battle grows fiercer before stepping in." "No," Xi Chuankong urged. "There's no need to save me. You must take that heart from Xi Janfang. You cannot let him devour it, or the consequences will be catastrophic." Han Li asked quietly what the heart truly was. Xi Chuankong admitted he did not know its exact function, only that it was vital to Xi Janfang, perhaps even the key to breaking his great encompassment bottleneck. "If he succeeds," Xi Chuankong warned, "you and I may never return to the Holy Realm." Before Han Li could respond, an overwhelming surge of bloodline power and life energy erupted from the cage. The seal was broken. Xi Janfang held a beating heart in his hands, his eyes blazing with fervor. Xi burned with fury and wished to reclaim it, yet fear of Yi Kuai stealing the holy remains left her hesitating. Seizing that instant, Yi Kuai flashed past the Arhat puppet and smashed both fists into its back. At Xin's command, the puppet twisted to defend with all 8 arms, but it was a breath too slow. Already damaged, its body exploded in 2 under the blow. Xiaozi's 2 puppets continued hammering the golden cage, which now trembled on the verge of collapse, but they were too late. Laughing wildly, Xi Janfang raised the heart toward his lips, proclaiming that all would fall after his rebirth. In that instant, a blurred figure shot across the lake of blood like lightning, waves of crimson surging skyward. The golden cage shattered explosively, blasting the 2 attacking puppets away. Han Li emerged amid silver lightning and drove a savage punch into Xi Janfang's chest. Star power erupted, blasting a gaping hole clean through him and hurling his body upward into the ceiling. Stone shattered. The cavern roof collapsed as Xi Janfang crashed down amid falling rock, splashing into the blood lake below. Rising slowly, he ignored the hole in his chest, staring instead at his empty hands before unleashing a roar filled with rage and despair. Across the lake, Han Li stood calmly, the beating heart now in his grasp, studying it in silence. All present were stunned, Xi included. Only Yi Kuai ignored them entirely, exploiting Xin's lapse to rush past her at terrifying speed. Alarmed, Xi tried to stop him, but Yi Kuai appeared beside the holy remains in a blink, clawing toward it with frantic greed. A shrill screech cut the air as a bone spear struck his wrist, Kunyu once again disrupting him. Enraged, Yi Kuai backhanded the spear, snapping its tip and sending it hurtling back. It pierced Kunyu's chest, blasting him away before he could react. Yi Kuai reached out again, only for a pillar of golden light to descend from above, smashing toward his head. He snorted coldly, punching the pillar while still grasping for the remains. A thunderous boom shook the ground as golden ripples exploded outward. His body stiffened, feet sinking deep into the earth, surprise flashing across his face. Before he could recover, a massive golden tail swept from the light, flinging him thousands of feet away. The radiance faded, revealing a colossal golden dragon puppet, hundreds of feet long, forged entirely of gold, with coral-like horns, gleaming scales, a powerful tail and fearsome claws. Beside the holy remains appeared 3 more puppets, a golden tiger, a golden turtle, and a golden bird, each radiating power no weaker than the dragon. Shashin descended onto the bird's back, translucent threads flying from her fingers into all 4 puppets. Though her chest wound was sealed, her face was deathly pale, blood trickling from her lips. Ikwai stabilized himself mid-air, seemingly unharmed despite being struck. At Shan's command, the 4 puppets formed a barrier before the holy remains. Kwai sneered. The astral 4 symbol pits are indeed impressive. If you were uninjured, they might threaten me. But in your current state, how much power can you truly wield? With that, he dove once more toward the holy remains. Kwai descended like a falling star, black light flashing as a giant sword over 10 feet long materialized in his grasp. The blade curved like a coiled black dragon, its aura fierce and oppressive. White engravings spread across its surface, forming starry clouds where more than 200 star acupoints pulsed with light. Shashin's expression darkened instantly, and at her command the 4 puppets converged on Ikwai at once. Though the sword was massive, it moved in Ikwai's hands as lightly as a feather. He swept it through the air, meeting the 4 puppets head-on. Deafening booms erupted one after another, shaking the underground cavern violently. Ikwai unleashed his full strength, a sight both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As he had anticipated, Shashin's earlier injuries greatly weakened her control, forcing her onto the defensive, though she still managed to bar his path to the holy remains. At the center of the blood lake, Han Li stood beside the remains, watching the clash in stunned silence. Despite having opened over 200 profound acupoints through the weeping blood array, he could clearly feel the vast gulf separating him from the 2 city lords. "Return the heart to me, you human scum!" A furious roar split the air as Xi Janfang charged at Han Li, madness burning in his eyes. The hole in his chest had healed, black patterns crawling over his arms and radiating cold, violent power. His speed surged dramatically, and he reached Han Li in an instant, throwing a devastating punch. Black light erupted, forming a colossal fist projection dozens of feet wide. Han Li met it with a punch of his own. A thunderous boom rang out as the projections collided and shattered. Xi Janfang was flung backward, his face flushing unnaturally, while Han Li staggered back 3 steps, surprise flashing in his eyes. The strike carried far greater power than before, along with strange invasive energy that slipped past his true extreme film and surged into his body. At that moment, the 2 puppets under Xiaozi's control descended from above. The winged puppet unleashed a storm of white light blades, while the feline puppet spat silver branches that released bolts of lightning. Xi Janfang sneered as a translucent black film enveloped his body, effortlessly blocking the attacks. He countered with both arms, unleashing twin blades of black light that swept forward. Before Xiaozi could react, the blades struck, slicing both puppets apart with terrifying ease. Xiaozi and Han Li were both shaken. Even as she battled Ikwai, Shashin had been watching the heart closely and shouted urgently, telling Xiaozi to abandon Xi Janfang and seize the heart before it fell into human hands. Xiaozi hesitated, glancing at Han Li. Shashin's eyes turned cold as she formed a seal, golden patterns blooming on Xiaozi's glabella. Xiaozi's expression emptied of emotion as she released 2 golden orbs that transformed into towering golden humanoid puppets clad in armor, shields in one hand and greatswords in the other, their auras nearly matching Shashin's symbol puppets. Han Li hurriedly protested that he had no intention of taking the heart, but his words were ignored. The golden puppets lunged, swords crashing down with terrifying force. Han Li darted aside, yet they pursued relentlessly, shields sealing off all escape. At the same time, Xi Janfang attacked from another angle, a massive black claw descending from above. Han Li's gaze turned cold. He tucked the heart into his robes and unleashed a storm of white fist projections in all directions. The blows struck like a peacock spreading its tail, smashing the puppets and shattering the black claw, though Han Li himself shuddered and paled as he stepped back. Without warning, Xi Janfang appeared behind him, faster than ever, black light wrapping his body as a black saber slashed toward Han Li's neck. Han Li suddenly pitched forward, feet rooted, causing the saber to pass overhead. In the next instant, he sprang upright, driving his elbow into Xi Janfang. Bones shattered audibly as Xi Janfang was sent flying, shock written across his face, though he twisted mid-air and retreated toward the golden puppets. The puppets steadied themselves and pressed Han Li again. He answered with twin fist projections, stopping their swords in a violent explosion. At that instant, a streak of golden light shot forth, a golden spear aimed at Han Li's chest. Xiaozi emerged between the puppets, clad in exquisite golden armor engraved with a radiant divine bird. Han Li clamped the spear between his palms, halting it completely. Golden light flared as dozens of star acupoints lit across Xiaozi's armor, amplifying her strength, yet she could not wrench the spear free. Han Li spoke to her through voice transmission, but her gaze remained cold as crimson light gathered beneath her veil, signaling a dangerous secret art. With a quiet sigh, Han Li thrust forward, sending Xiaozi flying back. At that very moment, Xi Janfang appeared behind her with a vicious grin, his black saber crashing down. A beastly projection formed along the blade, its weight multiplying as it tore through space itself. Xiaozi, still airborne, had no way to evade. At the sight of impending calamity, Han Li moved without hesitation. All 475 of his profound acupoints flared to life as he surged forward with overwhelming force. Arriving at Xiaozi's side just before disaster struck, his fist smashing toward Xi Janfeng's black saber. Yet at that critical instant, the saber twisted aside with eerie agility, evading his blow and sweeping viciously toward Han Li's throat. Simultaneously, the ferocious, beastly projection coiled around the saber, let out a low, savage roar, lunging forward to clamp its jaws toward Han Li's head. An immense pressure crashed down upon him, dimming even the radiant light of his acupoints. Drawing a deep breath, Han Li struck again with his other fist. A giant mountain ape projection erupted behind him, pouncing forward to clash head-on with the beastly apparition. A thunderous boom echoed as the underground cavern shook violently, the shockwaves drawing even Shashin's and Yi Kuai's attention. Golden, white, and black radiance interwove, forming a three-coloured sphere of light. From within it, Xi Janfang was hurled backward, smashing into the cavern wall. His black saber had snapped in two, the dark patterns across his body fading rapidly. Blood trickled from his lips, shock etched across his face as he fled desperately toward the cave entrance. Han Li burst forth immediately after, fury blazing in his eyes. In a blink, he closed the distance and unleashed a heaven-shaking punch. Brilliant white light exploded from his fist like a blazing sun, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Xi Janfeng's face drained of colour as starlight surged across his body, black patterns igniting to form a thin defensive film. A grey shield shot from his sleeve, nearly 40 star acupoints gleaming as it expanded tenfold, but it was shattered instantly beneath Han Li's strike. Terror flickered in Xi Janfeng's eyes. Before he could react, a cold snort resounded, and agony like a red-hot spike pierced his mind. Freezing his body, Han Li's fist slammed into his chest, tearing through the black film with ease and blasting a massive hole straight through him. Blood sprayed as Xi Janfang was flung away, crashing to the ground near the cave entrance like a falling meteor, carving a huge crater amid roaring dust and debris. Blood poured freely from his ravaged body, the black patterns fading completely as death loomed. He stared up at Han Li in disbelief. Just as Han Li descended to finish him, a streak of white light shot from the cave entrance, piercing Xi Janfeng's head clean through. It was a white bone spear. Life vanished from his eyes in an instant, leaving everyone stunned. Shashin watched with a cold sneer while Yi Kuai's expression darkened. With Xi Janfang dead, only Mistress Lu Hua remained as his ally, a grim situation indeed. Urgency surged within Yi Kuai as his acupoints blazed brighter and his black sword glowed fiercely, slashing down upon the tiger puppet. Shashin pointed sharply, and the puppet swelled, unleashing a storm of golden blade light. Yi Kuai met the assault with a cold harumph, cleaving the golden barrage apart and striking the tiger puppet with crushing force, blasting it away and tearing open the encirclement. As Shashin hastily commanded the other puppets to close the gap, Yi Kuai unleashed 3 massive black sword projections. Forcing them back, he darted forward like a white shadow, only to be intercepted by a towering silver ape puppet charging from the side. Reacting instantly, Yi Kuai sliced the puppet in half, but the delay, allowed Shashin to regroup. The 4 symbol puppets reformed their formation, and a dragon tail, tiger claw, and golden beak struck in unison. Ikwai roared defiantly, blocking them, yet was still knocked backward. At that moment, Kunyu leapt onto the tiger puppet, though a gaping hole remained in his chest. Metallic light gleamed within, bloodless and eerie. Declaring that Shashin could no longer bear the strain alone, he took control of the tiger puppet. With his aid, the puppet's power surged, trapping Ikwai once more. Elsewhere, Xi Janfang lay motionless, gazing at Xi Janfang's corpse with conflicted eyes. Mistress Liu Hua rejoiced at the spear's arrival, while Han Li's killing intent erupted as he demanded to know who interfered. Gu Chanshun emerged with a soft laugh, claiming chance had led her here and thanking Han Li for enabling her success. Han Li merely snorted coldly. Privately, he acknowledged that her intervention spared him grave consequences given Xi Janfang's status. As Mistress Liu Hua rushed to Gu Chanshun's side, Han Li seized the moment. Appearing beside Shi Chuankong and striking a palm into his body, a sharp crack rang out as restraints shattered, restoring Shi Chuankong's freedom. Rising swiftly, Shi Chuankong bowed in gratitude. Mistress Liu Hua halted in fury, yet a sly glint shone in his eyes. Han Li cast him a thoughtful glance, then turned toward the cave. The 3-coloured light had faded, revealing a stunned Xiaozi. Suddenly, the heart hidden within Han Li's robes flew out of its own accord, streaking toward Gu Chanshun. Han Li and Shi Chuankong gave chase as Gu Chanshun dodged in alarm, but the heart flew past her, plunging instead into Xi Janfang's lifeless body in a flash. A chill crept across Han Li's face at the sight before him. Could it be that Xi Janfang had never truly perished, instead lurking in silence, awaiting the perfect moment to reclaim the heart? Urgency surged through Han Li as his figure blurred forward. In the blink of an eye, he arrived beside Xi Janfang's corpse, his hand striking toward the man's head, intent on shattering it completely. Yet at that very instant, radiant crimson light burst forth from Xi Janfang's body, accompanied by an overwhelming force that hurled both men backward through the air. Han Li landed more than 100 feet away, his gaze sharp and guarded. To his surprise, Xi Janfang did not revive. Instead, his flesh withered rapidly, collapsing into a dried husk in mere breaths. Moments later, the heart floated free from the corpse, hovering a foot above it and pulsing with dazzling crimson radiance. Han Li's eyes flashed. He lunged once more, Shi Chuankong following close behind, while Xiaozi stood frozen in place. "What are you doing, Xiaozi?" Shashin shouted angrily from afar. Xiaozi trembled, snapping back to awareness. Just as she prepared to command her 2 puppets, agony contorted her face. She clutched her head and collapsed to the ground. Han Li seized the heart before Shi Chuankong and immediately rushed to Xiaozi's side. Shashin's expression tightened. She hastily formed a seal, golden runes spilling from her fingertips. Golden light flashed across Xiaozi's glabella. Her face turned cold and blank as she grasped her golden spear and swept it forward, unleashing a wave of spear shadows toward Han Li. At the same time, the 2 giant humanoid puppets charged. Han Li frowned slightly, preparing to counter, when a voice echoed in his mind. "That's enough! You are allies. There is no need to fight one another." He retreated swiftly, evading the spear wave and distancing himself. The 2 puppets halted as well. Han Li looked between Xiaozi and Shashin, pondering Taoist Xie's words. Xiaozi remained aloof, while surprise flickered across Shashin's face. After drifting several hundred feet away, Han Li transmitted, "So you finally revealed yourself, Brother Xie. Where are you?" "I am within the holy remains," Taoist Xie replied urgently. "The heart absorbed powerful bloodline energy, allowing me a brief awakening. I have little time. Listen well." Though countless questions burned within him, Han Li remained silent. "My former master, what was myself. I once ruled the Scalptia spatial domain, but fell to a grave scheme and was left at death's door. To survive, I refined this immortal puppet and sealed part of my memories within it. After many twists of fate, it descended to a lower realm where we met. Thanks to you, it has reached this place, and now my rebirth is within reach. Fuse the puppet heart with my bonded core and remains. Using the bloodline power amassed here over endless years, I will form a new body. During this time I must not be disturbed. Protect me." His voice faded into silence. Han Li paused briefly, then flew toward the holy remains at the lake's center. Xi Janfang stared at the heart in Han Li's grasp, opening his mouth before letting out a helpless sigh. Ikwai noticed the brief exchange between Han Li and Shaxin and shouted urgently, "Stop him, fellow Taoist Liu Hua!" Mistress Liu Hua merely glanced at him indifferently. Making no move, fury erupted from Ikwai. Crimson light surged from his body as his aura skyrocketed, a secret art unleashed. As he raised his giant sword to strike, the two golden puppets under Xiaozi's control lunged from behind, blades swinging. Ikwai dodged sideways, slashing back. The puppets reacted instantly, shields raised, swords clashing. Two sharp cracks rang out as their blades shattered. Ikwai's sword carved deep into their bodies, yet failed to cleave through. Severely damaged, the puppets discarded weapons and shields, seizing Ikwai's sword with both hands as brilliant golden light burst from them. Alarmed, Ikwai released the hilt and retreated at once. Twin earth-shaking explosions followed as two blazing golden suns erupted, surrounded by spatial fissures. The cavern shook violently. Rocks rained down into the lake of blood, sending massive waves surging from afar. Ikwai glared at the holy remains, fury and frustration twisting his features. At that moment, the four symbol puppets closed in. Xiaozi sat atop the Xuanwu turtle puppet. "Karma spares no one, Ikwai," Shaxin said coldly. "For your countless sins, today is your end." With a gesture, the four puppets attacked together, countless assaults crashing down upon him. Meanwhile, Han Li reached the holy remains and carefully placed the heart into the skeleton's chest. Crimson light flared as heart and remains resonated in harmony. He then produced the golden bead, hesitation in his eyes. Taoist Shay had not said where it belonged. Mistress Liu's voice sounded in his mind. That should be the bonded core. It must fuse with the heart. After a brief glance her way, Han Li placed the bead upon the heart. It blazed brilliantly. Merging in a flash, the heart turned radiant gold, swelling dozens of times until it matched the massive body. Its beating thundered. A colossal pillar of golden light shot skyward, shaking space itself. Han Li staggered back, stunned. The lake of blood churned, rushing toward the body and pouring into the golden heart. Crimson light spread throughout the remains as flesh rapidly formed, knitting together ever faster. Above, much of the cavern ceiling had collapsed, revealing the night sky. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed. "Li Fei Yu! I will kill you!" The lake shuddered as Ikwai glared at Han Li with murderous fury. Shaxin shouted joyfully, "Hold him at all costs! Do not let him disrupt Master's resurrection!" Kunyu and Xiaozi responded in unison, seals flying from their hands. The dragon puppet in the east exhaled searing corrosive flames. In the west, the tiger puppet unleashed blade-like gales. The Xuanwu turtle in the north emitted azure light bearing crushing pressure, while the vermilion bird in the south rained scorching fire. Empowered by Kunyu and Xiaozi, the four symbol puppets surged with might, sealing Ikwai within their formation, leaving him no path of escape.